Yo, what's up, guys? It's Nathan back with another video for you today. And today we got the next episode of Power Surge, which is our 2025 NFL Power Ranking series. And we are now one whole month into the NFL season. Boy, that has absolutely flown by. So that now means we have 4 games of tape to watch, analyze, so we can start seeing what's legit or what might have been kind of an overreaction from a small sample size. But before we go ahead and get into the power rankings, please go ahead and like and subscribe. Go ahead and drop a comment if I'm too high or too low on your team. We got hopefully a bunch of videos coming out to you via shorts and the long form videos like this coming out. So if you enjoy the content, please go ahead and stick around. But let's just go ahead and get straight into it, starting off with our bottom tier. As Cam Ward said, keep it a buck, we ass. And yeah, he's not wrong. The Titans are the worst football team in the NFL. I'm pretty sure that they'd probably lose to Ohio State or Texas or Georgia, whoever else you want to rank. I don't know the top 25 rankings off the top of my head. But boy, they've just been bad. And now this offense gets blanked on the road in Houston. Like they're just not doing anything right, not scoring, not stopping anybody, not moving the ball. Like just nothing is working for this team. And so they dropped to 0-4, and I had them ranked 32nd last week, and there's nothing they've done to prove that they should be any higher. Frankly, they don't even deserve to be 32nd. They really should be like 38th if we start counting in fact college football as well. For this video, right below me, I'm going to start also talking about some fun little bets for kind of season awards or kind of just different things while we're talking. So first, fired coach of the NFL season, Brian Callahan at plus 150, I think is tremendous value. I mean, this team just isn't doing anything right. Cam Ward's calling this team out, saying they're ass. He's getting into it with reporters like 3-17 on his like career. Like they're just not doing a single thing right on any phase. Dumb penalties, special team mistakes, missing field goals, turnover. I mean, just everything is going wrong for this team. Plus 150. Like I think at this point, it's going to be a 50-50 shot between Callahan and the next team I'm going to talk about in just a second. I'll show you who that is. But I mean, it is a legit like 50-50 shot. If you're getting that at plus 150, I think that's a great edge, great value. I do think Dable and McDaniels have done enough to kind of save their job, at least for a little bit. But if I'm Tennessee, I'm getting Callahan out of there as soon as possible because keeping him around is only going to hurt Cam Ward's development. So, stock incredibly low on the Tennessee Titans. Now, next up, we got the Cincinnati Bengals. So, the other head coach I was talking about, Zach Taylor. I don't remember if this was a typo. Let me double check real quick. But yeah, next coach to be fired, Zach Taylor. It's between him or Callahan. Like these are the two worst teams in the NFL, bar none. Um, I wanted to give this Bengals team some benefit of the doubt because we saw Jake Browning a couple seasons ago was able to come in for Cincinnati and kind of keep the Bengals afloat. But he's horrible. 13 points over their last 2 weeks, being outscored what like 76-13 over the last 2 weeks. Like that's abysmal. This team's quit, have given up. Without Joe Burrow, there's no chance for this team to succeed. Holes over the place. Offensive line still can't block. Like just straight up bad football team, bad coaching. And it's very upsetting because I feel like the Bengals are going to turn it around this year, but then Burrow goes down and you realize A, how great of a player Joe Burrow is, B, how bad this Bengals roster is. So as I said, between him and Callahan, one of them has to be the first head coach fired this season. I really would be surprised if it's anyone else. I can't find the odds very easily, but I mean, the factor, actually, hold on, it's right here. Yeah, it still says he's a plus 5,000. That is insane value. It's like, it's a 50-50. I don't know if that's updated. This is from last week, so we'll see what the new line is or if there's another line. But I mean, plus 150, plus 5,000 between one of these two coaches has to be one of them. But moving swiftly on to our next team, the New Orleans Saints. Hey, the Saints have been frisky. They've been okay. They've been hanging in games, so I'll give them that. I mean, they're still bad. You know, they're 0-4, and they haven't really been super, super close in any of their games. But I at least do think they've been competitive in showing some of that juice. I actually predicted them to be favorites against the Giants. Saw the opening line. They are favorites against the Giants. My prediction model has them as a winning the game 23-22. So I do think they could get their first win on the season at home versus the Giants. Like they've been frisky. They're not going to win a whole bunch of games, but at least they've been competitive and trying and not giving up. And that's frankly all you can really ask for. If you're going to be bad, at least be working hard. And I do think they've been doing that. So kudos to them at the very least. Next up in this tier 7 of Keep It a Buck, the New York Jets have them dropping down one spot. Look, they're just not very good. Justin Fields is just not a great passing quarterback. Don't think he does enough on the offense. And then Aaron Glenn, I think he's been overrated for years now. Those Lions defenses were not super spectacular. Part of the reason they were so good is because the offense was putting up 60 points damn near every week, it felt like. So, and like bringing him over to the Jets, this defense that's been underperforming for a couple of years, now you bring over this supposed defensive guru type, and the defense is still underperforming. Like I don't get it. I would move on from Aaron Glenn. I really don't think he's the answer for this Jets team. I don't think Fields is the answer for this Jets team as well. Bright side, you'll be picking early. Hopefully, Justin Fields will help land you a top 5 pick so you can address quarterback in the draft. But this has been a strange year in college football, so who even knows if this is a good quarterback class? We'll see closer to the end of the season if somebody breaks out, but I don't like where the Jets are at, in my personal opinion. But now we are going to tier up to the next team, the Cleveland Browns, tier 6 of bad, but not bad. So look, these teams, they're bad, but they're not like ass. You know what I mean? Like they're going to be in these games, be a tough out, and you can't overlook them. Starting with the Cleveland Browns. It really, really sucks how good of a defense the Browns have. Part of it is because Myles Garrett is the best player in all of football right now. He's an absolute menace. So the fact that he's currently plus 400 for Defensive Player of the Year, I think that is a great value to take. I know Hutchinson is currently the favorite, but I mean, Myles Garrett is single-handedly the only reason this team is going to be even close in any game for the rest of the season. And so it sucks though, because they do have this really, 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 really great defense. It's elite defense. The issue is this offense is so tremendously bad. Some of these other teams, like the Steelers in their own division, who've had great defenses before, their entire philosophy is, hey, let's force turnovers, keep the game low scoring, hold them to 17. You know, if we score 20 points, we can win. Like that's kind of been the thing with the Steelers. It's a race to 20 points. Whoever gets there first is probably going to win the game the last couple seasons. The issue with the Browns team is this offense is so bad. This defense legit has to hold people to 10 points to be able to win games, which just is not possible in the modern NFL. It just truly is not. So, unfortunate for Myles Garrett. On the bright side, he absolutely got his bag. So, I mean, he's going to be a Hall of Famer and have a couple hundreds of $1 million in the bank. So, I mean, you can't feel too bad for the guy. But I really just don't expect the Browns to be a great team with more than 4 or 5 wins on the season. On the bright side, if you look ahead at their schedule, Minnesota with Wentz, and old Aaron Rodgers, Tua, Drake May's had some inconsistencies. So, I mean, they can rattle off some wins. But is this team going to win any playoff games or go on a run? I would doubt it. So, next up, we got the New York Football Giants upsetting the Chargers at home. Who saw that coming? I personally did not. Did have Giants plus 5.5, so I mean, I thought they were going to keep it close, but win the game. Was not expecting that, so kudos to them. And look, Brian Dable saved his job with this win, in my opinion. Jackson Dart was not perfect, but as soon as he scored that touchdown, that first touchdown, you could see this entire team change. Even the commentators were talking about it. Like they really got fired up and finally felt like they believed in their quarterback. Dayball loved him. I'm surprised they weren't making out on the sidelines. So like completely changed the entire energy of this team, which makes it all the more heartbreaking that Malik Neighbors tore his ACL because he was playing absolutely fantastic to start off this year and would have been a great target for Dart going forward. But unfortunately, till MetLife gets some better turf, that's just going to be par for the course in New York, I'm afraid. But at least this team is showing that the defense is playing a little bit better. This offense is going to do a little bit more. And this team is bought in behind Jackson Dart, which frankly is sometimes all you need is just a little bit of belief. But they got the Eagles 2 of their next 4 weeks and Denver, so I do think it's going to be a little bit back to the L's for a little bit. But maybe you can steal one against New Orleans to kind of keep the momentum going. Brian Daboll, I do think at least saved his job for a little bit, so that's why I'm not betting him for first coach to be fired. But defensive rookie of the year, Abdul Carter plus 140. I'm going to take that before it gets much higher. He's already tied for 11th in total pressures on the season. I think that number is just going to keep getting higher, but I think his odds are just going to keep getting less and less value. So I really think it's probably like a 60-40 at least for Abdul Carter. If you're getting that at plus 140 odds, like a 60% chance of him winning, I think that's great. I do think Jahad Campbell and Carson Schwetzinger could potentially kind of come in and steal that, but I just don't think an off-ball linebacker is going to be a edge defender, especially if he's going to be producing like one of the legit elite edge defenders in the entire league. So I think plus 140, get that now while you can before it's too late. But next up, we got the Las Vegas Raiders. Still bad, but not bad. But hey, finally got Ashton Jeanty going and only took 4 whole games and the Chicago Bears, to do it. But hey, finally got this offense somewhat looking better. Geno Smith, I don't know what's up with him. I feel like he's not been this bad, but I don't know if he just went to Vegas and decided to gamble and get drunk and pull up to games drunk or what is going on. But that is now 3 straight losses for the Raiders. Geno Smith has thrown, 3 interceptions in back to back games or 2 of his last 3, something like that. So I don't know what's going on, but hopefully at least they can keep Jeanty consistently going. Um, Plus 320 odds. Ashton Jeanty is so talented where it's super, super hard to not um, think that's great value and think this could be consistent. But also, this Raiders offensive line has shown 3 straight weeks of being really bad. So that's kind of one of those pick your poison if you want to bet it or not. But I do think 320 is pretty good value. But there is a lot of talented rookie offensive players this year. So if you don't want to bet it, I'm not really going to blame you. And moving swiftly on, Carolina Panthers. What the hell happened, guys? How are we going to boat race and absolutely blank the Atlanta Falcons and then go on the road and just not show up? Y'all might have just stayed in Carolina and took a forfeit. Would have just saved everybody time and money, but at least the Patriots fans got to see a really big win. Um, so yeah, I don't really know what's going on with the Panthers. Bryce Young will show some flashes of being good and then show more flashes of being bad. So I do think this could kind of be shit or get off the pot for the rest of the season. I do think the Panthers could be looking at quarterback next year in the draft. And the defense is still just not really getting better, which really sucks because I liked Evero when he was in Denver. And I thought this was a great hire, and he just has not worked out. So overall, all around, I'm kind of just worried about this team. At least they have shown some flashes where I trust them a little bit more than the other guys. And they're currently, well, now they're underdogs, but I think they opened as favorite against the Dolphins. So who knows what's going to happen there. And then Ted McMillan plus 1,500. I think that's good long shot odds for Offensive Rookie of the Year. But as I said, there is a lot of talented players on the offensive side of the ball. Quinshon Judkins, I didn't even mention him in Cleveland, but also someone who could potentially have good long shot odds. Um, I'm kind of just hoping Ted could win Offensive Rookie of the Year because I have him in a lot of fantasy leagues. So if he could score some points, that would be great. But it really depends on what Bryce Young is going to do for how much upside this team really has. And I'm starting to believe it less and less and less as we go on. Now, next up, we're going to tier up again to our tier 5 of who even knows. So these are just teams that I really cannot tell um, like if they're good or not or what they are. Starting with the Arizona Cardinals. So they had 2 somewhat sketchy wins against the Saints and the Panthers, who have already been revealed in the first 10 teams, so you know they're not very good. and then they looked bad against the Niners and looked bad against the Seahawks until they almost came back, only for the new kickoff rules to end up costing them the game because they weren't in the landing zone, and then they had the ball at midfield for Seattle. So, very unfortunate way for that game to end. But luckily, I mean, they got Marvin Harrison going again. That touchdown looked so big, like he looked very emotional about it. So I think that hopefully can be the start of Marv getting his confidence back. If he can get his confidence back and become the wide receiver that we all touted him to be, it's going to be huge for this offense. Still is not very good offense. I do think Petzing needs to go, but at least the defense was kind of playing a little bit better. But overall, I'm pessimistic about the team. That's why I have them dropping. But maybe they can kind of start growing now and compounding with Marv breaking out towards the middle and end of this season. But we'll see. Tennessee is another great matchup for them. Like, hey, let's just get another slump buster game, if you will, to kind of get back in the win column. So we'll see how they do there. But with Indy and Green Bay, I think we're going to really see that Arizona is just kind of a step below some of the more legit teams in the league. Now, next up, Miami Dolphins get their first win of the season. Fortunately, it came at the cost of Tyreek Hill's knee/leg. That was a gross injury. I did not like watching it. But the thing I will commend, everyone was talking about culture issues and locker room issues. This team has not given up and has kept fighting for Mike McDaniels. Even going to Buffalo, they did not give up. They played to the end and they were competitive. And finally, now they get their first win of the season. Tua has not been spectacular, but at least they're moving the ball and able to take care of some of these games. So who knows what their ceiling really is? Don't think it's very high. But at least going forward, this is still not a team I really want to face. And I think they're going to be at least able to rattle off some wins and at least keep McDaniel around here for longer in the season. But I think they may still end up moving on from him, later down the line. Anyways, but at least he has saved his job for now. Next up, coming up 3 spots, the Atlanta Falcons go from scoring 0 points, scoring 34 points. Is to see Atlanta Falcons offense we're going to see every week? No. Are we going to see the Atlanta Falcons score 0 points every week? Also, no. Kind of somewhere in the middle, of kind of just a average-ish, below average offense, in my opinion. On the bright side, Drake London looked absolutely fantastic this week. They really got him going, which is going to be huge for this passing offense. Bijan is still Bijan, and Algier even give you a good game as well. So at least they're able to get back in the win column, and at least it's not going to be everybody coming from Michael Penix's head yet again just yet. Still want to pump the brakes. Not a huge fan of this defense. Not a huge fan of Raheem Morris either. Penix, I'm still a little bit stocked down on him as well, but at least they were able to put up some points. So we'll see. They got a bye week and then have to go against Buffalo right after that. So not a fun team to play coming off a bye. But we'll see if they can kind of start rattling off some wins as we get further on into the season. Now, next up, we have the New England Patriots. Absolute huge win for them at home. New England has been so weird. They're so inconsistent. It's 14 points against the Raiders, 33 against the Dolphins. 14 points against the Steelers, 42 points against the Patriots. And I didn't update their schedule, but now next up they're going to go against Buffalo Sunday Night Football. It's going to be a great chance to see how legit Drake May and this team is going against the reigning MVP Josh Allen. Not really liking their odds, at least to win this game against Buffalo, but Mike Vrabel, Coach of the Year at plus 1,400, and the Patriots to make the playoffs at plus 130. Fantastic value. Let me tell you why. So their schedule, they do have to play Buffalo twice, including next week, but some of the other games they have this season, I can see 2 of them right there. New Orleans, Tennessee, which are 2 of the bottom 3 teams in the league. They got Cleveland, who's also bottom 5. Atlanta, who's a team I have ranked below them. They got the Jets, who's also in the bottom tier. They got the Jets twice, interdivision game. They got to play Miami one more time. got to play the Giants, and they get Cincinnati, who's going to be without Joe Burrow. So, I mean, that's 8 super winnable games. Nine if you include Atlanta. That could go either way. I mean, even Cleveland could, but I mean, that should be 8 or 9 wins right there. They already have 2 wins on the season. If this team gets to 10 or 11 wins, which they should, this is not like, oh, they could if everything goes right. They should win these games. I think having Vrabel winning Coach of the Year at plus 1400, I think that's tremendous value because I think he'd be in a shoe in to win if the Patriots get 11 wins and make the playoffs in his first season in New England. And as I said, plus 130 odds to make the playoffs. That is such an easy schedule. The AFC East, absolute cakewalk schedules this year. And so, yeah, as I said, they absolutely should get to 10 or 11 wins. And if you get to 10 or 11 wins, more often than not, you're making the playoffs. It's not a guarantee. Look at Seattle last year at 10 and 7, but I mean, plus 130 odds, like 50-50 shot. If you get to 10 wins, you have a greater than 50% chance of making the playoffs, which I mean you're getting that at plus 130. So as I said, based off that schedule, tremendous value. Please, please, please bet this if you're able to, because I think that is just an absolute steal and free money. But hey, maybe the Patriots suck and they drop a bunch of these games and I look like an idiot. But I do think they're at least more competent than all of those teams that I just spoke on. So only time will tell. Now, next up, I feel like I'm going to get some hate for this, but I have the Chicago Bears. Whoa, they dropped 2 points after winning a game. Yeah, I know. I just don't trust this team. They're still not running the ball. I don't trust any of these playmakers besides Roma Dunze. Offensive line has some of their own issues. Caleb Williams is still not perfect. And this defense, I mean, they scraped one out after Geno Smith just absolutely tossed him the ball 3 times. They let Genty run all over them. Like I don't see the upside for this team. If there's any other person who is coaching them besides Ben Johnson, I think this would be a bottom 5 team. I just frankly think they are that bad. Um, they got a bye week. Coming off of it, you got Washington, New Orleans, and Baltimore. I think that Washington game and Baltimore game is going to be a true test of what this team is. Only if Jaden Daniels and Lamar are playing those games. If it's going to be Mariota and Cooper Rush, still don't know if I'm going to really trust it. But I don't know. I don't see it with this team. Um, Looking back at their draft, I don't think we're going to give this credit about how bad of a draft this really was. Starting in the first round, you draft Colton Loveland, who has not done a single thing for you yet. I know he missed last week, but I mean, Cole Kmet is still the number one tight end here by far. When they could have drafted Tyler Warren, same position, been much better. Could have drafted Egbuka to give them another wide receiver option besides Odunze because Moore's not been good, Zacchaeus has not been good. Luther Burden, who they drafted in the second round, has barely gotten in the field. They could have drafted Amarian Hampton, Quinshon Judkins, Travion Henderson. Give this team some more juice in the backfield. And then on the offensive line, they draft Ozzy Capillo, hasn't gotten in the field either. Could have gotten someone like Tate Ratland or some of the other offensive linemen in this draft. They drafted really bad. Not a fan of what they did there. This roster, I think, has issues. I don't trust Caleb Williams. I just think this is a mess that so far has been masked up because they've been able to beat the Raiders and Cowboys. Going forward, I'm worried about this team, especially when they have to start going against Detroit again, start playing the Packers, and kind of some more of these legit NFC contenders. So I'm still low on the Bears, even though they just won on the road in Vegas. Now, next up, the team that the Bears beat 2 weeks ago, the Dallas Cowboys. What? Oh my God, but the Bears beat the Cowboys. They should be higher. It's not how this works. If you want to say who's better just by doing that whole thing, go somewhere else. This is not how this works. You can go look at the standings if you want power rankings based off who beat who. It's not how we do it at the 3 Hit Advantage channel, so I am putting the Cowboys higher. So, bright side, this offense is really, really good. Dak has been amazing so far. They probably should have been the Eagles if CeeDee Lamb didn't keep dropping the ball. Um, beat the Giants, looked bad against the Bears, probably could have beaten the Packers as well. Offense is legit. The issue is, I think me and my buddies and my grandparents could probably go drop at least 30 points on this defense as well. So, defense, complete ass. Offense, one of the best offenses in the league. So, it's really a really polarizing team because of that. But I think if Dak is playing at this level, you are going to win games, especially against some of these lesser teams. So I do think that the Cowboys are good enough to ride this offense to at least 6 or 7 wins on the season. Do I think they're going to be a playoff contender? Not really, just because this defense is so bad. This offense is also so legit, so who knows? In a game that they had all rights to lose against the Packers, they are able to hold on and almost beat them. So I do think I'll give them credit for that. Like they played all the way to the end, and I mean honestly, if Jordan Love was just a second later on that throw, literally would have won the game in overtime. So stock up, I do think for the Cowboys, despite being 1, 2, and 1. Now, next up, still in the same tier of who even knows, I got the Minnesota Vikings. Prince Harry, first quarterback who gets to start home field advantage in London, and they don't look absolutely spectacular. Granted, coming off a 48-10 performance, I think there was always room for them to kind of be overhyped and shit the bed. But I don't know if this team is good or not. It's hard to tell. Kevin O'Connell and Brian Flores still arguably the best coaching staff in the league, but Carson Wentz is kind of just fine. JJ McCarthy was looking really, really bad. They haven't really been able to get Justin Jefferson going. They at least did this week against the Steelers. Um, Jordan Mason, they got him going one week, but haven't really been able to any other weeks. So I just don't know. This team is kind of just in this weird limbo of kind of figuring out who they are, what's going to be with Wentz, what they're going to be if they go back to McCarthy, and kind of figuring out that quarterback position. So I think the Vikings are definitely in kind of this weird, like, preteen puberty stage and trying to figure out who they are. Um, so I think they really have the potential to fly down the rankings and be like a bottom 6 or 7 team, or they could kind of keep climbing and be kind of a fringe top 10 team. So really going to be interesting to kind of see how the next couple of weeks go. I think Cleveland, Philly, and the Chargers are not 3 teams I want to play if I'm having offensive issues. So I think this could be a team that we're looking at next month at being 2-5. Being further down the rankings is what I would bet on if I had to bet it right now. But ultimately, time will tell. But next up, final team in this who even knows tier, the San Francisco 49ers. Now, on paper, you see 3-1. Hey, not bad. Um, but I mean, this team is just being absolutely rotten down to the core with injuries. Purdy, I think he's questionable again week 5. But even then, he was questionable for this game. He missed some time. At least CMC is healthy, but Jennings has been injured. Pearsall has been injured. Ayuk is still going to be out for a significant time. You're still missing Kittle. Bose is done for the year. Like this team just keeps losing all of their star players. And the issue is they're just not drafting well either. The last couple of years, they've been one of the worst drafting teams in the entire league. So as these injuries start stacking up, this team's margin for error just gets smaller and smaller and smaller because they've done a horrible job of drafting and giving this team good depth. I mean, how many third round picks has this team wasted on running backs or fucking Jake Moody who aren't even on the team anymore? So they've absolutely shot themselves in the foot. And even then, they shot themselves in the foot against the Jaguars. I mean, they had 2 field goals on goal to go, 2 field goals, goal to goal. They had I'm blanking on it now. Two interceptions or an interception, a fumble, like almost as like a comedy of errors. Stuff keeps happening, and when you have Kittle and Pearsall and Jennings and Ayuk and Bosa, you can get away with some of these mistakes and still win football games. But when you're losing all of these guys, your margin for error, as I said, just gets smaller and smaller, and you can't steal these games like you may have been able to when you had more talent. So ultimately, you still have Shanahan. His team is still talented, still has a great scheme, and I think they're going to be able to win some of these games. But also with how many injuries keep piling up, like this team could ultimately kind of just end up falling off a cliff and the wheels completely fall off. Like it truly could go either direction. I do think this probably needs to be the last season with John Lynch as your GM. Um, I still trust Shanahan and what he's doing, but you just got to get some more talent in this building because they just don't have it outside of their stars. So that's why, as I said, they're in this kind of who even knows tier. Are they going to be stock up or stock down? I'm leaning towards still up, but it kind of just depends on how the injuries keep playing out for this team. And we know the Niners love to be injured all around. Now, next up, tiering up into tier four, which I am calling the AFC South. Um, See if you can spot the common trend between these four teams. So, starting off with the Houston Texans. God, this offense is so bad. I don't know if anybody saw the play. If you haven't, you have to find it. Where six offensive linemen blocked one Tennessee Titans player, and I think it was Jeffrey Simmons got a sack in literally 1 second. CJ Stroud snapped the ball, turned around to hand it off or play action or whatever the play was supposed to happen, and instantly was tackled because Jeffrey Simmons just got to walk straight up to him, like completely untouched. Um, so, I mean, this offensive line is crazy bad. The fact that there's an offensive line that can rival the Bengals is absolutely astonishing, which I mean, even the Raiders throw them in that conversation too. Um, it's just super, super bad and super, super messy. But CJ Stroud is still a great quarterback. People keep talking about, oh, he's regressed this. No, he hasn't. He's still a great quarterback, definitely a top 10 quarterback. But when you have a horrible offensive line, go look at what's happened to Joe Burrow 3 of the last 4 seasons or whatever. You can't do anything. You cannot do anything. When you are sacked literally a second into the play, there is nothing you can do at the quarterback. Nico Collins has still been a stud. The running game has not been spectacular. Part of it is Chubb and Woody Marks. I mean, they are what they are, but there's no blocking either. And then Nico Collins has been a stud, but none of your other rookie wide receivers or Christian Kirk have gotten going. So it's kind of just CJ Stroud and Nico Collins having to go out there and play fucking ball. Otherwise, nothing happens. On the bright side, as I said, defense is still phenomenal. One of the best in the league, if not the best. They're definitely up there. And so I think when they have this elite defense and CJ Stroud, they're going to have a chance. But this offensive line definitely could shoot them in the foot. I can't quit CJ Stroud just yet. But there were reports that there's going to be some stuff coming out about the Texans off the field that's going to be messy. So who knows what that is, when it's going to break, what that's going to be. So definitely, I could look like an idiot for having the Texans this high in a couple weeks, but we will see. On the bright side, you're getting a Ravens team without Cooper Rush, so definitely think you have a chance to win 2 in a row heading on the bye week. Start feeling good about yourself, and hope you have an entire week to figure out what is going on with this offensive line. Seattle, I think, could prove to be a tough game, but if you're going against an injured 49ers team, that could be to your benefit. So I think next month we could be talking about this team being 3-4, kind of back in the AFC South title picture, which ultimately, as I kind of think, is what's going to happen. But we will see because there's still some other good teams in the AFC South. The next one being the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm still not a full believer in this team. You beat up on the Panthers, who have proven more often this season that they're bad than they have that they're good. You drop one to the Cincinnati Bengals with Jake Browning, which we've seen how the last 2 weeks have looked. So that's a little bit worrisome. And then, you steal this one against the Niners. And then what is the other game? Why am I blanking? Panthers, Niners, Houston. I don't know why I completely blanked there. But you beat Houston, which, you're at least you got the home game. They've had their own struggles. You only scored 17. Like, I don't know. It's been a little bit messy. I'm not really a firm believer in the Jaguars just yet. I do think this next month is going to be a huge proving grounds for how legit the Jaguars and this defense are. Because, as I said, you looked really good against the Panthers and the Texans, who have been a bad offense to start off the year. You got absolutely gashed by uh, Jake Browning and the Bengals. And then this game against the Niners, they shot themselves in the foot. And that's kind of the reason I think they won this game, as opposed to, I think it's almost like the Niners lost more than the Jaguars won it, really. A punt return touchdown, that's one of the things I forgot was in the Niners portion. But I mean, punt return touchdown, you held them to some field goals. Like, I think you replay that game 10 times. I do think the Niners end up winning it at least 6 or 7 of those. Anyways, Chiefs, Seattle, Rams, really going to be a proving ground. So if the Jaguars are legit and win a couple of these games, then I think they're legit. If they drop all 3 in a row, then we're going to know they're probably fluky. So we will see. Because of that, Coach of the Year, Liam Cohen, plus 650. I think right now it's decent value because if they win these next 3 teams and they're legit, those odds only going up. If they lose these next 3 games, though, then that's going to go down and completely discard that bet. So that's kind of just one of those 50-50. Wherever you're feeling about the Jaguars, go ahead and take them. If you believe in them, bet this now before it gets higher or becomes the worst odds for you to bet on, or don't touch it if you think they're going to be bad. That's frankly what that comes down to. And next up, the final team of the AFC South tier, obviously the Indianapolis Colts. Heartbreaking fashion to lose on a 88-yard touchdown. Don't really know how you do that, but hey, fair enough. They, at least in this game, they were competitive against a very legit Rams team. So I could be being too harsh on them, but just some apprehension of what Daniel Jones still is. It kind of feels like the Sam Darnold thing last year, where the entire season we kept saying, "What is Sam Darnold? What is Sam Darnold?" Still don't really know. What I will say though, Coach of the Year, Shane Steichen, I think that is great value. At plus 450, I definitely think he's the front runner for a reason. This team does have games against the Raiders, Arizona, Atlanta, and Tennessee still to go. I think they should win all 4 of those. That gets them to at least 7. And then they got games against the Jags and Texans. So if they're able to win those games, get to 10 or 11 wins, I think Shane Steichen is definitely Coach of the Year for what him and Daniel Jones have done. As well, Comeback Player of the Year, I definitely think Daniel Jones, Mr. Indiana Jones, is a great shot at winning it. I do think CMC, Aiden Hutchinson are also, I mean, the current front runners and also deserving of this. But this kind of reminds me of the Joe Flacco thing, where it completely comes out of nowhere, surprises everybody, and wins the award. So, depending on how this team finishes, I think both of those could be tremendous value. I could be being just a little bit too harsh on the Colts here after losing against a good team. But we'll see as they kind of start playing some more of these legit teams. I do think this game against the Chargers is going to be another good proving ground for what the Colts team really is this year. Now, next up, we have next tier, tier 3. We're good. These are teams that are just good, probably going to make the playoffs, probably not making a splash, but hey, we're good. We're just good, solid teams. Starting off with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I do not have them moving. What I was saying last week is that this team kept playing with fire and they were able to get away with it versus not very good teams. Now you go against a very good team and you can't keep making those same mistakes. Now, let's say the Eagles don't block the punt for a touchdown and you take 7 points off the board. Oh my God, you look at that, you win this game 25-24. Obviously, not fully how that works, but as you see, with these worse teams, they were able to get away with it and go down to the wire with some of these teams. But when you start playing good teams, you can't make these simple mistakes like getting kicks blocked or just stupid stuff. So I don't think they deserve to be lowered because this is frankly what I expected from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But going forward, they need to clean this up or they will start dropping. I do think they are still the best team in the NFC South and should win the division, but you can't keep making these mistakes. Seattle, San Francisco, Detroit, those are still good teams that you need to show up for and stop making mistakes. Otherwise, you're going to lose those games. So they really need to start cleaning some of this stuff up. I think Baker is still playing fantastic, but overall, as an entire team, need to clean things up. This defense, I'm still just not a fan of. So at least they're having fun with Baker and Todd Bowles and him making out and being lovers with Durham Smythe or whatever, but or Payne Durham. Which one is it? Regardless, you need to clean this up if you want to have more success going forward. That is a non negotiable if you're trying to win games in the NFL against these good teams. Now, next up, moving up 4 spots, still in this we are good tier, is the Seattle Seahawks, who are going against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Um, it was not a super, super pretty win against the Cardinals, um, but hey, they held on. I do think they got a little bit lucky from the whole landing zone thing because if this game went to overtime, I think there's a good chance that the Cardinals, who had all of the momentum, could have won. But hey, they're still winning. As I was saying last week, I'm not really impressed with their resume. Bad loss against the Niners, and then you beat the Cardinals, you beat the Saints, and you get a bit of a fluky win against the Steelers. So I'm still not a huge fan of this team, but their schedule going forward isn't super, super ridiculous. Let me just pull it up again real quick just to double check. But I mean, they're fine. Sam Darnold's been looking okay. This defense has been looking okay. Tariq Woolen is absolutely unplayable. He sucks. Even his rookie year, there were concerns, but people just saw the interception numbers and were like, "Ooh, good corner." Nope, he's bad. He's just tall Trayvon Diggs. Um, but I mean, hey, this team, they get to play Tennessee, get to play Carolina, but they do have to play the Rams twice. Got to play the Niners again. A little bit scary. On the bright side, the Seahawks team does not have to go against any of the elite teams. So you don't have the Eagles, you don't have the Bills, you don't have the Chiefs, Ravens, Packers, Lions. So I do think that is going to be a good thing for this team to hopefully win and steal some of these games. So right now, Mike McDonald at plus 1,000 odds for Coach of the Year, I do think is pretty good value because no one has really talked about the Seahawks. They're able to get to kind of 10 or 11 wins again. Then he'll definitely be in that conversation. But yeah, I'm kind of just not. I don't see it with this team just yet. They haven't done anything where I'm like, oh yeah, this is legit. Boat racing the Seahawks or boat racing the Saints means absolutely nothing to me. The game against the Steelers, they got a little lucky and kind of stole that one. So yeah, kind of just not impressed by the resume. I need to see a little bit more against better teams before I really start moving them up the power rankings. And next up, I was beefing with somebody in the comments last week about the Steelers being rated higher than the Seahawks. And guess what, dude? If you're still watching, it's still the case. Pittsburgh went into London, beat the Vikings, looked like they were in control for the entire game. So, na 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 boo boo, ha ha ha. Now, look up ahead, Pittsburgh with the Browns and the Jake Browning Bengals. That is a good looking schedule to get to 5-1. And then we'll kind of see and reassess how we're feeling about the Steelers team then. But guys, Aaron Rodgers can still play. Arthur Smith gets all his credit about some of his usage, but I mean, he's still a good offensive coordinator. They got Kenneth Gainwell going. DK Metcalf finally was able to break off a long touchdown. So, I mean, this team is legit. Defense played a little better, forced the classic mistakes like the Steelers do, and they won this game. So, ultimately, I think the Steelers still are a good team. I do think this team with Aaron Rodgers, I think, has a better chance to win the Super Bowl than they have since Ben Roethlisberger, Antonio Brown, and Le'Veon Bell. Honestly, I think they have a better chance. That's how high I am on Aaron Rodgers still being a top 15 quarterback. Um, but I mean, frankly, I do think their ceiling is just capped a little bit with Arthur Smith and some of these playmakers. But if you play this brand of football, you're going to be able to steal some of these games, and I do think they are still a good football team. Now, next up, tearing up again to tier number 2, which this is expect to win in January. Basically, these are teams who I think should just realistically expect to win a playoff game. Starting off with the Commanders, I do have them dropping 2 points, but I think this Commanders team is still really good and people aren't talking about them. Week 1, they took care of the lowly Giants, so they didn't really get any hype for it. had a bad loss on Thursday night, which people got to see how good this defense was, or the Packers defense was, and that's kind of just ran into a buzzsaw. And then they lost this one against Atlanta, so not really anything spectacular with Mariota, and then they beat the Raiders. So I think people have not yet realized how good this team still is. Mariota is actually the number one ranked quarterback via PFF right now. Daniels is still legit. I don't think he was sophomore slumping. I think they just went against two decent defenses, or a really good defense, especially for the Packers. I think once he gets healthy, this team gets healthy, they're going to keep moving the ball, going to keep scoring. I think this offense is still looking good with Kingsbury. I think Dan Quinn has a really good culture here. So when I look at make playoffs at -1 of 5 for the Commanders, I think that is an absolute slam dunk. Now they do have a tough schedule up ahead. Um, Chargers and the Chiefs, especially, are two hard teams. Dallas and Chicago, I mean, those could go either way depending on how things break for them. And then they got Seattle and Detroit still to go. So, I mean, those are tough games. But they have Miami. They should win. Minnesota's not looking great. Got the Giants still. So, I mean, I think they could win those. They need to win some of these tough games. And then they still have the Eagles to play twice. So, I mean, if they made it, if they didn't make it, it's not the most shocking thing in the world. But I do think this team is underrated for how good they are. And when Daniels comes back, this offense gets to really hum like we expect them to. I do think we'll be talking about them as a legit playoff team in the NFC. Now, next up, we got the Denver Broncos, who I'm not moving, keeping them here at number 9, where I had them last week. I mean, this team is good. They finally got a crappy team where they're able to just completely handle the game super easily. But I mean, this is now 4 straight weeks where they have not trailed at any point in the fourth quarter, except for 2 game losing field goals as time expired against the Colts and Chargers. So they've gotten a little bit unlucky, if we're being honest. But I do think this is still a good team. Nix is cleaning it up. This defense is still fantastic. Dobbins is looking really good. Sutton is looking really good. They got Harvey going against the Bengals. So ultimately, I am still a fan of this team and what Sean Payton is doing with the Broncos so far. I do think this week against Philadelphia is going to be a really good litmus test to see if this is kind of just a playoff team or if this is like a legit AFC contender. I do think this will be a very important game to decide that. But you have Sean Payton, you have a bunch of playmakers, you have Bo Nix playing very good, and a solid defense. You're going to be a good team. They may lose this game against the Eagles, but Jets, Giants, Cowboys, that should be 3 wins. So I think in a month we're going to be seeing this Broncos team at 5-3, and just feeling pretty good about them kind of overall. Now, next up, I got the Baltimore Ravens dropping down 4 spots to 1-3 after a really bad loss against the Kansas City Chiefs. Look, when Lamar gets back, I think they're going to go right back to looking fantastic. This offense has looked really good. Just 2 fumbles ultimately cost them 2 games that they should have won. But when you're 1-3 and your quarterback's injured, you are really putting yourself behind the 8 ball. Zach Orr and this defense have been horrible so far. They've allowed 41, 38, and 37 points. That is not good at all. So I do think they really need to tighten things up on defense. Probably replace Zach Orr if we're being honest. But when you have Lamar in this offense, you're always going to be in these games. How much time he misses is really going to kind of determine how good this Ravens team is and their chance to even really make the playoffs. But 2 weeks, I think they still have a chance against the Texans. The Rams could be dicey, and then you go on a bye. If Lamar is able to come back after the bye week and his team is sitting at 1-5, you get the Bears, which you should win. You get the Dolphins, which you should win. Then you get Minnesota, Cleveland, and the Jets. So if Lamar is able to come back after the bye week, that should be 5 wins in a row. And now we're looking at the Ravens 6-5, and we're like, oh yeah, there's no worries. So I don't think the Ravens should just go flying down power rankings after another bad loss. And you hear Lamar Jackson's injured. I think a lot of people are going to overreact and tank him in the rankings. But if we're looking at full season and there are odds to win a Super Bowl, this is still a fantastic team with a tremendous upside and a schedule that will get easier. As I said, they got those 5 games, and they get Cincinnati twice, Pittsburgh twice, and the Patriots. So they've already played the hardest stretch of their schedule after the bye week. Healthy Lamar Jackson, this team should get back to rocking and rolling. So I'm really not going to drop them out of the top 10 kind of unless they really, really shit the bed in the next couple of weeks, because the healthy Lamar, this offense and team should get back to rolling. Now, next up, I got the Green Bay Packers. They had 2 great weeks to open the season and then 2 really, really bad weeks in a row. And it just comes down to being too conservative. And the Browns, I think they overlooked the Browns and were just kind of like, hey, simple, let's get in, get out, get the win. And they lost the game. And then in Dallas, in overtime, they could have had a chance to go down and win. Even before it went to overtime, they could have tried harder for the win. And then when they got to overtime, they got the ball with like 6 minutes left, and they were like, let's just use all of this time. And they didn't really try to go to the end zone. Like, they were just content playing with the tie. And it almost cost them. Jordan Love threw that ball in the back of the end zone, literally 1 second left. Otherwise, like, they could have lost that game because they were being too conservative and wasting time, and they were playing to not lose, and they were not playing to win the game, and that is ultimately a giant flaw of LaFleur and this entire Packers organization. And that is going to hold you back from winning a Super Bowl and being a legit team. So unless LaFleur can be inspired by his division counterpart and Dan Campbell and, grow some cojones, the conservatism of this team is going to be their undoing and hold them back from reaching the heights that this team does have the talent to get. So ultimately, stock down on them for now. They have a bye week to kind of figure some things out. And then Cincinnati, Arizona, and Pittsburgh could be kind of some slump busters and kind of get back to things looking good and, having everybody be excited. But stop playing to not win games. You just cannot do that in the NFL. Now, next up, I have the LA Chargers. They drop a bad one to the Giants. But ultimately, they're still a good team. Even after 3 great weeks, I didn't want to put them in the Super Bowl tier. This is why. This team has some flaws. I do think Jesse Minter is doing a great job with this defense. He's definitely going to be a head coach next year. Herbert has looked great. This is definitely his worst game of the 4 so far, but I mean, this is still a good team. Quentin Johnston, he's emerging and proving when he was a first-round pick. Keenan Allen still looks good. It still looks like he can play. And Omarion Hampton, currently at plus 500 odds for Offensive Rookie of the Year, I think is great value because you have a good running back, gets all the volume, B, on a team that's going to win a lot of games, and a very good offense, C. So I think plus 500, that's great odds. I don't know where this team goes besides just being a really good team. Ultimately, is what I'm kind of looking. I think they're going to be a really good team. January they can win a game, but do I see this team going on a Super Bowl run? I don't. I don't know. They just lack this kind of X factor to me. And ultimately, I just think it comes down to either Harbaugh or Herbert. I can't even tell you what it is, but something just feels like it's lacking to me. And this loss against the Giants was kind of the perfect example of why I'm kind of worried about this team. Now, next up, I have the LA Rams, the final team in this expect to win in January tier. Um, they're just good, dude. Stafford is still legit. Sean McVay is still, in my opinion, the best coach in the National Football League. And Puka Nacua is an absolute beast. He catches everything, he gets open, perfect player of the scheme. Stafford loves to pepper his number one guy. Currently the favorite for Offensive Player of the Year at plus 300. If he gets injured, is the only reason why he does not win it at this rate. So bet this now at plus 300. I think next week we're going to be seeing it at like -1 or plus 150. And then the further and further into the season we get, we're going to be at like minus 1,000 come week 16. So bet it now while you still can, because if Puka is healthy, he's going to get all of the volume in the world. I think he's on pace for like 180 catches on the season. That's insane. He's on pace to have the first 2,000-yard receiving season. That's insane. So, I mean, if Puka Nakua wins the Triple Crown, which I think is going to be what, like the third time Stafford's been the quarterback for someone who's done that. At least the second. I don't know if Calvin Johnson won it, but he set the record for yards anyways. So, anyways, Puka's on chance to win the Triple Crown and break a bunch of records in the process. So bet this Offensive Player of the Year odds now while you still can. Now, next up, we are in our tier number 1 of teams that I expect to win in February. And so, what I mean by this is basically who in February during the Super Bowl should have realistic Super Bowl expectations, starting off with the Chiefs. Hey, look, would you look at that? They get Xavier Worthy back healthy, and this offense kind of starts clicking back into place and looking how it should. I think they just have even more potential once Rashee Rice comes back, and then I think all the skill sets are going to be really complementary. Um, Defense plays a lot better when the offense plays a lot better. It's kind of funny how that kind of works. If we're talking about things to bet, I think Patrick Mahomes plus 650 to win MVP is tempting. I think Allen is the clear number 1 right now, in my opinion. But Patrick Mahomes as a number 2 option, I do think that is decent value. You could probably even wait to bet it just because I think Josh Allen has an absolute cupcake schedule, and I'll get more to that in just a little bit. But as a more of a long shot, great pick. And then Super Bowl plus 900 odds. I would bet this now because I just don't really see it getting any lower than this, unless Mahomes gets injured. But then if Mahomes gets injured, you're not worried about this bet cashing at that point anymore, anyways. So I do think that stock is definitely back up for the Chiefs. They're looking much better at 2-2. Now you're not feeling as worried about them. That game against the Lions is going to be a really fun game. Still need to see how this Jaguars team is, but then Raiders should be an easy win. Washington, they should win. Ultimately, I'm just not worried about this team. I think they're going to be able to keep rocking and rolling with Mahomes and Kelsey and company. Now, number 3. My top 3 is staying the exact same. I'll spoil that now. But we're going with the Detroit Lions. They're back. They shit the bed week 1 against the Packers. They just weren't ready. But now 3 straight weeks of dropping over 30 points. This offense looks absolutely insane. Goff is playing well again. Amon-Ra's playing well. Jahmyr Gibbs is playing well. David Montgomery didn't do anything this week, but he's still looking good. Offensive line is working. Defense is playing all right. Like, they're just the Lions. Dan Campbell's great. John Moore's doing a great job with this offense. They're just a good team. It's really all there is to it. I do think Jahmyr Gibbs plus 1,600 odds is pretty good value just because he is a really good playmaker and is going to get good volume and score the ball a lot. Granted, you are basically relying on Puka Nakua to get hurt if you really want to cash that, but I don't think that's horrible value for what you're looking at right now. But I'm not worried about this team. This should be another easy week for them, and then they get to prepare for the Kansas City Chiefs. I think that's going to be a fantastic game. So as long as they don't kind of just overlook their opponent and shit the bed against KC, I think we're going to be looking at a really fun matchup between the Lions and Chiefs. And they are currently, I want to say, my personal favorite to win the NFC. Side note, the Packers and Lions have like the exact same odds to win the division, win the conference, blah blah blah. The Lions are much better than the Packers, so if you can still find them even, bet the Lions on this stuff. Like, I don't get why they're ranked the same as the Packers. I just don't believe in the Packers nearly as much as I do the Lions. So I think it was like plus 425 to win the conference. I think that's between them or Philly at this point. Not really the Packers. So I'd bet that if you see it. But I didn't put it on kind of my list of plays. But anyways, yeah, Lions. They're the Lions. Not much else to say. Now, the next team we have a lot to talk about. The Buffalo Bills. So as you can see, you got MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, and Coach of the Year all right here. Now, why do I think this? So obviously, they are 4-0 to start off the season. So already really good start to the season. But if you look at their schedule, they have an absolute cupcake schedule. They get Kansas City. They have to play Kansas City, but they get them at home. They have to play Philadelphia, also get them at home. So your two hardest games you get at home. You have to play Tampa Bay. You get them at home. You get Cincinnati without Joe Burrow. You do have to play Houston and Pittsburgh on the road. Those could be trap games, but I think there is a legit possibility where this team does not lose a game all season. I think the Buffalo Bills have a legit chance of going 17-0 and making a Super Bowl run, and I think they have a legit chance to be the first team to complete a perfect season. I know that's crazy, not trying to be overreactionary, but I think at this point you can not say that Josh Allen is QB1. He just does everything, doesn't make mistakes, helps the playmakers, rushing threat. Like he just extends plays, he does everything. So MVP, bet this now at plus 100 because barring him getting injured, this is the best time. This is the highest you're going to see these odds again, especially with, as I said, if this team goes on a run and finishes with 14, 15, 16, 17 wins, there's no way where he doesn't win the MVP. So stock definitely up on Josh Allen. Bet this now while you can. James Cook, um, last season was amazing. This season he still looks insane. Broke the record for most consecutive games with a touchdown for the Bills. I think he could just power to add, like keep scoring. Um, I think he's going to finish with close to 20 touchdowns and like 1,500 all purpose yards. So, I mean, I think he's just a good player on a good offense that uses him. The only thing that is a detractor from him winning is A, Puka Nakua and what he's doing, and B, you might get dinged for having Josh Allen on your team. But I mean, if he finishes with 1,500 all purpose yards and 20 touchdowns, he's going to be a legit contender, especially if Puka goes down, but that's kind of a lot to rely on. Regardless, though, the Bills are fantastic. They're in a great shape to go on a run. It's also why I have Sean McDermott Coach of the Year at plus 1,400 because I would be surprised if you go 17-0 and don't win Coach of the Year. Because as I said, this team has a legit shot to win at least 15 games. So I'm betting them every single aspect that I can. Ultimately, I do want to put them number one, but I can't because the Philadelphia Eagles are still doing the thing. Ultimately, that's what they're still doing. Another win, convincing fashion against the Buccaneers. Um, it's just the defense is really good. Even it feels like when they make mistakes or do anything wrong, they can come back into it. I don't see a way. This team just finds ways to win games, which ultimately that's just what you have to do is find ways to win games. They don't always have to be pretty, but a win by 100 and a win by one count the exact same on the win column. I think they've really embraced this weird, like, it's everybody against this culture they have. Jalen Hurts is a great leader, even if he has his flaws as a passer. With what this team's able to do, running the ball and extending the ball, like this team is just a really good team. Um, do I want to drop them below the Bills? Yes, but also they're the reigning Super Bowl champions who are 4-0 and have won at least two of their games in pretty convincing fashion. Um, so I don't know. We'll see. This feels a little bit like how the Chiefs felt last year, where they kind of just kept getting away with it, and ultimately in the Super Bowl they got boat raced. So if we're talking at the end of the season, Bills Eagles Super Bowl, maybe the Bills can boat race. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Now that's 6 months away, so don't really need to focus on that. But I do think the Eagles are still a fantastic team, got a great roster. Um, like I can't ding them just yet. There's no reason for me to. But ultimately, with that being said, that is my power rankings. Please let me know what I thought. Who am I too high on? Who am I too low on? Where am I just right? Comment, like, subscribe. Got a lot more content coming to you this season. They all won't be an hour long, so I promise they'll be a little bit shorter and more digestible for you. But ultimately, that is everything that we've learned from these teams after 4 weeks in the first month of the NFL season. Thank you for checking out this video. Peace.